I have not had that long of a video amount in I don't know how long. It's like 48 minutes that I'm allowed. So excited. Okay, back to the real deal. Welcome back to my channel. If you have reached this video, you have gone through the entire month of October, because this is October 31, 31st. How was your Halloween? How was your month? Did you enjoy my playlist? So, for the last story of the month, I'm gonna tell a story, or a couple stories, that my best friend-in-law gave for me to tell. So basically, my best friend's boyfriend. So the first one, is my best friend-in-law, Bruce, was living in California and wanted to go over to his friend Ruben's house so that they could hang out and play some video games, you know, do whatever they do. And Ruben had gone to the store with his family so his mom, Ruben's mom, went over and picked Bruce up and took him to Ruben's uncle's house. And then after she took him there, she left and went to go pick everybody else up from the store. And Bruce was then left alone at his friend's uncle's house by himself. So he was just sitting in the garage, and then after a while he heard a honk. So in his head, he's thought, oh, okay, well, they're home and they must need help, you know, with the groceries or whatever, so I might as well go and help. Well, by the time he got out there, all of the stuff had already been brought, and his friend Ruben was coming back out the house because there was a lot of people there, so everyone grabbed it all. And as his friend's coming up, Bruce asks him, hey, does your grandma need help or anything? And Ruben said, what are you talking about? And Bruce says, your grandma in the car right there. There was an old lady that was just chilling in a car. And Bruce saw this lady and thought, you know, oh, hey, she looks related to him or whatever. That must be his grandma. So if she needs help, I'm gonna help her, you know, whatever. He didn't know who she was. So he was basically just going completely off of, you know, how she looked or whatever. I just lost all of my train of thought. Ruben didn't know what Bruce was talking about because Ruben didn't see the old lady, and Bruce did. So he didn't know what Bruce was talking about, and so Bruce had to describe to his friend what he was seeing. She was a person, to Bruce, she was a person like you and I right now. And she was sitting in the car. And she wasn't really doing anything. She was just chilling in the car. So Bruce says, yeah, your grandma is out here. Ruben says, no, dude, there's no one in the car. You need to fucking calm down. And Bruce says, what do you mean? And Ruben goes, dude, there's no one in the car. My grandma has been dead for years. So Bruce was between the ages of maybe 12 and 15 years old when this happened, and Ruben's grandma passed away when Ruben was about 5 or 6 years old. So Ruben then took Bruce into the house, and keep in mind that this is the very first time that Bruce has ever been in this house. He's never met Ruben's grandmother. He's never seen a picture of her at all. So Ruben takes Bruce into the house and shows a picture of his grandmother to Bruce. And he sees that this lady is wearing the same clothing that he just saw the lady wearing in the car. These were the clothes that she wore about a week before she passed away. So, to go from never seeing this woman, never seeing a picture of her, to this, it was like, whoa, am I seeing things or what's going on here? And the picture was kept in a book in the house, and I remind you, Bruce had never been to this house, so this was the first time that Bruce was in this house. So then Bruce told Ruben that, oh, well, that's the lady that I saw in the car. So that's the end of that little story, but I have another story. So this one time when Bruce and Andrew were closing at work, Andrew was on a delivery and Bruce was in the back doing some of his paperwork. And then out of nowhere he hears Bruce. And so he thinks, oh, Andrew must be back and he must be calling for me. So he goes to the front, but he doesn't see or hear anything. He looks around the lobby and he still doesn't see anything, still doesn't hear anything. So he goes back to the back to finish his paperwork for the night. And then he hears it again. And so he's like, okay, that's the second time I've heard my name. So someone must be out there calling for me. Him sitting in the back, he said that it sounded like someone, like it was coming from the area where the phone sat. It's not really like a good description for like you and I, because we don't know necessarily like the layout of his job. I do for the most part, but not in a way that I can like for sure lay it out for you. But he was sitting there and the phone is like somewhere over here, and that's where he had heard it from. The second time he heard it, it was also louder than the music. And both him, myself, and my best friend cannot stress enough that when his job is closed for the night and he's the only one there, and he's like cleaning up or doing his night duties or whatever to close down his job, he has the music on really, really, really loudly because it helps him focus and work, and it kind of helps him wind down a little bit so that he can focus on getting out of there and going home and having some, like him time and some downtime or whatever. So in order for someone to call his name and have him hear it and have it be really loud and have it be over the music, you would have to be yelling at the top of your lungs in order for that to happen. So that's how loud he heard his name. So he thought there was someone out there calling him or something. So he goes and he walks past the phones that he said that he had heard it from, and he goes back into the lobby area, and he doesn't see or hear anything. So then he's like, okay, whatever. He's getting annoyed. He goes back, He starts doing his paperwork, or to do his paperwork again, and about 15 to 20 minutes after that, he hears his name once more. And it's very loud, and it's in a deeper voice than it had been the previous 3 times that he had heard his name. He goes out and still doesn't see or hear anything else. So he's like, what the fuck is going on? And as he's heading towards the back, he hears the back door open and then it shuts. So he's thinking, okay, Andrew probably called me, but then had to go outside to get something. Well, then Andrew comes inside and he sees Bruce staring at him with a very blank and confused face. And Andrew said that he could tell that Bruce was really weirded out. So Andrew asked him what? And Bruce asked him, did you call me or anything? Like, you know, did you call for me? And Andrew said, no, I just got back. And Bruce then says, what? Are you sure? Like, you weren't calling for me or anything like that? And Bruce, the way that it sounded to me when they were telling me the story made it seem like he had like a flushed look on his face. Like when he realized that the only other person who could have been there to call him never even called him. It's like, then who the fuck is calling my name? Like, how am I hearing my name? Like, what would go on, you know? So to me, in my head, it felt like his face was just like flushed and confused and maybe overwhelmed and just like taken back by everything that was going on. And Bruce said that it was weird, and so Andrew asked him why, what's going on. And so Bruce told Andrew the story. Then later on that night, when Bruce was counting down and finishing up his night work and stuff, he looks up to see a black and shadowy orb lifting up from the ground. It then floated about knee level and was swaying back and forth in the air. Then it backed up and then flew right next to him and into the ice machine. And Bruce was like, all right. He hurried up what he was doing and he got the hell out of Dodge. He was like, I am not sticking around for none of this. So he cleaned up all his stuff real quick and he went home. Being one of the managers, he has access to cameras. So he wanted to see if he can catch if he had caught any of that on camera, and wanted to see if like, oh my God, look what just happened to me tonight while I was at work. And so he goes home and he gets comfortable for the night and everything, and he pulls up the cameras on his phone. And he's looking through them with my best friend, and they don't see anything on the camera. But at one point you can see Bruce standing there where he was, you know, doing his work and stuff. And he stops for a second, turns his head, and then he looks back, and you can tell that he's like hurrying up and finishing what he's doing. So in real life, you can see the orb, but then on camera, you cannot see it at all. So that's the end of that little section. There was another time when his boss, Sarah, came into work early, and the lid to the cold table, that is very heavy and made of metal, was not only off of its hinges, but on the other side of the room. So she went to look at the cameras, to see what happened, and around 3 o'clock in the morning, she saw that the lid randomly just flew off of the cold table and across the room. Then there was at another time when Bruce and Jeremy were training someone, and Jeremy had gone on a delivery, and when he got back, he went to the back to hang up his coat. And they told me to make it very, very clear that the hook that you use to hang up your coats is in no way, shape, or form touching the rack. So, like, there's a rack here, you know, like a rack that has a bunch of stuff, like the shelves or whatever you could put stuff on. And then there's like a gap maybe this big or so, and then the hooks start. So the two don't actually touch each other at all. So he was the only one back there at that time. He hangs up his coat and he goes out to the other two and he sits down and he starts talking with them. And a couple minutes go by, and then they suddenly hear a loud crash in the back, right where, like, the same area that he had just hung up his coat. They hear a loud crash. So the three of them go in the back to see the onion slicer off of the rack. And it is broken and bent out of shape and clear across the room. They go and they look on the cameras and they see it go flying. This video I myself have seen because I was living with them that night, and I remember them talking about it. Like, I remember him saying, "Oh my God, you would never believe what happened," and it's on video. And we couldn't wait for him to come home from work so that we can see this thing go flying off the rack. And it did. Nobody was back there. Nothing was moving. And it just randomly, whoop. And it wasn't one of those things where, like, it was hanging off the rack in any way. It was fully on the rack. And then out of nowhere, it just fell onto the floor. It just like, whoo, and it was done for. So, I have seen that. And then that same night, the three of them are in the lobby and they hear another loud noise in the back. And then that time when they go into the back to they find that the ladder and the hook that the ladder was on are in the apron hamper. And they tried to piece it back together to see if they could figure out how it fell, and they said that there is no way that it could have just fallen off. So the hook was no longer attached to the wall. And the way that you have to take the ladder off of the hook is you have to physically, like, push it forward and then lift it up and over, because the way that I envision it when they explained it to me is the hook is like this. So when you have the ladder in there, you have to push it back so that the ladder doesn't clip the top of the hook, push it back, and then lift it up to be able to take it off. So the ladder was completely off of that hook, and the hooks were not in the wall anymore. They were in the dirty apron hamper. So, yeah. My best friend's boyfriend works in an area that is haunted. So, there's that. How is that for, the very last story of October? I hope that you enjoyed these videos. If you would like to see me do something else similar to this, leave me a comment down below and let me know. I am planning on doing an I Am Thankful For video all throughout November, where every single video I talk to you about something that I am thankful for. They are not in any specific order. I'm trying to pick things that are, like, really, really meaningful and have helped me through my life. So yeah, that's what's in store. So I'm hoping that I can, let's see, there's 30 days. I'm pretty sure I can think of 30 things that I'm thankful for. So yeah, so that's what's coming up. I hope you enjoyed my October playlist and my 3 bonus videos. And if you, again, would like to see me do something similar to this, I would love to hear your suggestions. If next year you want to see me do something different for the month of October, feel free to leave me suggestions and I will write them all down and I will see what I can come up with. And thank you. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!